Well, hello my lovelies, it's Murky Meg here. It's Saturday the 24th of September and it seems that the gloves are off with regards to Harry and Meghan versus the palace. Now, yesterday the Times dropped an extract from Valentine Low's upcoming book called The Courtiers, The Hidden Power Behind the Crown. This is due out on October the 6th. Now, a bit of background information of those who don't know who Valentine Low is. He was the one that broke the bullying story. Can you remember just before the Oprah interview hit? It was a massive piece that basically said that there were loads of courtiers that had been bullied by Meghan. We knew at that particular point that there was more to come, but we really didn't know what was to come. Well, extracts have been released and they are an absolute bombshell of information. I'm going to break it down in over several videos because there's so much information in here that needs to be discussed. I can't fit it all in one. So I'm going to break it up over little bits of videos to explain what exactly is happening. Obviously, when the book comes out, I will do more. But for the moment, wow, oh wow, oh wow, this really does not paint Meghan and Harry in a very positive light. Valentine suggests that even before Meghan came on the scene, Harry, with his relationships with the media and the tabloid press, was extremely strained and he was guarded. He was extremely paranoid of what the press would write about him. One insider recalls he was always messaging me, making phone calls. It was non-stop. There were constant battles with the media and expecting the team, i.e. the firm, to be on his side. It also implies that Harry was a very frequent user of Twitter and he made every single minor infraction a huge deal. But this didn't just stem to the press. It also stemmed to the courtiers of Buckingham Palace. It was almost as if they had to prove their trust with Harry. You were either with him or you were against him. The extract says that he would use this phrase the whole time, the palace syndrome, when you won't fight the battles he wants because you have been institutionalized. That was very evident in the Oprah interview. He used that phrase, institutionalized, with regards to the men in grey suits, as he calls them. They're either with you or against you. And apparently, if any of the courtiers or the palace gave in to the media, it was a key indication of whether or not you had this palace syndrome. The extract specifically quotes that it was a constant test of loyalty. Are you going to protect me or have you just become one of them who won't fight for me? It was exhausting, the palace source said. It's been suggested that Harry would express his frustration at the people working for him and that they were holding him back. There's also the suggestion that they were having to talk Harry down from doing certain projects because it didn't fit in with the brand of the royal family and what him, Kate and William were trying to do at that particular time. This caused massive tensions between everybody. But what Harry feared the most was becoming irrelevant, apparently. He feared Prince George turning 18 and he saw what happened to the Queen's other children, Andrew, Anne and Edward, and he feared that he was running out of time to make his mark on the world. One such quote was, he had this thing, that he had a shelf life. He was fixated on this. He would compare himself with his uncle, Prince Andrew. He would say, I have this time to make this impact because I can, until George turns 18. Apparently, he said that I have this platform now for a limited amount of time. I want to move forward. Allegedly, the palace staff told him that he was a very different person to his uncle, Prince Andrew, and that he had a much stronger shelf life if he put in the work and dedicated his time to the correct charities, and that he could last and stay the course. Harry, unfortunately, didn't listen and was very focused on time running out. Apparently, his courtiers told him you can still have an impact in your 40s, 50s, even longer, so as long as you set the right foundations now. Unfortunately, this fell on deaf ears. And this was all before Meghan was on the scene. Not only did he mistrust the press, but he mistrust those that were around him and the courtiers within the firm. Now, I've discussed this at great length, or whether or not Harry was ripe for the picking of when Meghan came along. Did she see in him that frustration? that fear of a shelf life? Did she whisper in his ear, we can become starlets, we can overtake the world, we have our own brand, we can build a foundation, you and I against the royal family? What Harry feared the most was an invasion of privacy. He always refers back to his mother and what happened to her, but this is a completely different story. What he fails to understand is that Diana was a master manipulator herself. She was amazing, but she knew how to play the press and knew how to work it to her advantage. Sometimes that paid off, unfortunately, sometimes it didn't. But those people that were around at the time, the press and the photographers, all said that she knew how to work with them and against them, and she knew what made herself popular. I do also feel that it's extremely short-sighted of Harry to be hyper-focused on George. He was just a child. It almost seems like jealousy against your own nephew. And this is the thing with the royal family. It's the hierarchy within itself. You are systematically aware of who is above you in the pecking order, and how long that you are able to stay there is down to who has children and who puts you further down the line of succession. But Harry forgot all of this. He was always going to be the monarch's son, second son, and he was always going to be important so long as he stayed part of the royal family. The work that he and the Prince and Princess of Wales did was extremely important. Together as a unit of three, they were a power trio in my eyes anyway. They did amazing work, and the world and the UK loved them for it. They had their own royal foundation. They were building on such positive, amazing incentives that there was a humongous shelf life for Harry, irrelevant of however many children William and Catherine had. He built his mark, and he was a very much loved member of the royal family. Everybody kind of put aside his discretions, his cheeky chappy, the Vegas years, the stumbling out of the club years, the smoking, the drinking, the swearing. All of that stuff was put down to it's cheeky Harry. And that's one of the reasons why we loved him, because it was as almost as if he was fighting back going, yeah, I'm one of you. He was proving just a normal teenage lad growing into his 20s, enjoying himself, and that was relatable. But it seems, according to this extract from Valentine Low's book, is that he was hyper infatuated and frustrated about his shelf life within the royal family, when it really shouldn't have been, because at the time he was just the monarch's grandchild. But as soon as Charles became king, he would be the king's son, and that would hold gravitas, and he would be accepted even more than he was already accepted. He was building a foundation of being everybody's cheeky chappy prince. He was doing the work with William and Catherine to build those foundations of integrity and to build the work that speaks for itself until somebody else came along. And that is where the tension started to build. And it's not until Harry's relationship with Meghan was made public on October in 2016 that the massive invasion of privacy Harry feared started to begin, and his paranoia started to build. And that is where I'm going to leave you until the next video. So I would love to know your thoughts on this. Was Harry the beloved prince before Meghan? I certainly loved him. I had deep affection for Harry. I thought he was the cheeky chappy. What was your view of him pre-Meghan? And do you think this fixation of a shelf life until George becomes 18 and that he had only a certain amount of time to make his mark was relevant? I'd love to know your thoughts. Thank you very much for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, hit the notification bell, and also that like button. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all of my followers for all the tips and all the emails, DMs that everybody sends to me. It really is greatly appreciated. So thank you very much for watching once again.